If I only had 3 times to see my team, I'd spend at least 50% of that time doing something that allowed me to get close to them as a person, not try to make them a better salesman or manager or whatever it may be. And I think then when they realize your buy-in to them as an individual, the processes and the updated systems is the easy part, because they're like, I know he cares and he wouldn't do something that wouldn't benefit me or wouldn't benefit the company.
So what if the secret to scaling a brand wasn't a better algorithm or a slicker loyalty app, but putting your personal phone number on every single receipt and actually picking up? That's exactly what today's guest does. Anthony Valletta is the CEO and president of Bartaco. With 35 locations, this is selling upscale street food concept that built one obsession, making every guest feel as if they were thinking about them before they even walked in the door. Now, Anthony came up through 2 decades of hospitality, Darden, Del Frisco's, Michael Mina, before taking the helm at Bartaco and doing something most executives wouldn't dare, making himself personally reachable to every customer every day. Under his leadership, Bartaco has grown from a coastal beach house concept into one of the most talked about next-gen dining brands in the country, not by chasing trends, but by doubling down on experience, wage equity, and a culture that refuses to let scale become an excuse for losing the soul of the brand. What he's figured out about building superfans, escaping the commodity trap, using technology to enhance human connection, not replace it, is something every sales leader and founder in this audience needs to hear. Anthony, welcome to Your Winning Edge.
Yep, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let's take the idea of putting your personal phone number on every receipt and work backward. Why did you do that? How did that come up?
It's funny, as you look at all the technological advances we've had in the industry, there's surveys and analysis tools and AI tools that take all of this feedback that you're trying to get for the guests. And everybody says they want to hear more feedback. And what we do is we put out more surveys and more secret shoppers and more ways to technologically gain feedback from the consumer, but it's not raw. It's not organic. It's always through some tool that filters, or the latest craze right now is a company out there that only asks 3 questions, which is fine. But to me, I wanted to hear it from the word. It's like the mouth itself. I wanted to hear the guest tell me exactly what was good, exactly what was bad, not in a form, not in some platform, directly to me. And there was no way I was going to get that with any platform that's out there. They just don't do it because they don't see it as successful, and the guest doesn't use it as much. The phone number, guests use all the time, a lot more than I ever expected as of these days. But getting that feedback from my guests, I think, is the single most important thing I do on a daily basis.
So do you have any idea as to what percentage of your guests call you immediately? And then if they call you immediately, is it usually bad? If they wait longer, it's usually good, or what?
I don't know the percentage. Actually, it'd be interesting to find out. But what I can say is, like, I've had, at any given day, I have live text messages with guests in the restaurant, like asking, like, hey, I'm sitting down, I have this. I've got photos from guests. And when I initially put it out there, and it even says on the receipt, it says, if you had a great time, tell a friend. If you didn't have a good time, contact our CEO. It has the number on there. And it says, this isn't a joke, it's really his number. And people tend to often pressure test that. But I initially expected it to be more of a recovery component. Negative experience, reaching out to me, I want to hear about it. It's like 90% positive. Like, I know it says to only call you if it's bad, but I want to let you know, like, Skip took great care of me at my West Hartford location, whatever it may be. There's still a 10% component that's helpful, but now they've opened up this connectivity. And I've had some guests, I literally was just talking with somebody yesterday. She's been to our Denver location. I probably texted her with her a dozen different times. And she's moving to Laguna Beach. We don't have a Bartaco. And she went last night and sent me a picture and was like, I'm saying goodbye with a margarita.
That's awesome.
So I've been able to develop this great relationship with some of my guests. And to me, that's so valuable as a CEO, because I have a live track, not because I paid a focus group, not because I had to wiggle my way in, because they opened the door to me.
Right.
Like, I'm going to reach out to you, and now I reach back out to them. Or if they had a negative experience, I'm following back up personally, texting them or sending them an email or calling them, asking them how it was. And that to me is just, it's so much fun.
It's funny. I think the reason that you get most of the time it's positive, like 90% is positive, because I think with social media today, nobody wants to be negative unless they can be anonymous.
It's a great point.
And so they don't want to they don't want to tell you to your face, which is sad, right? Because frankly, most people don't know how to communicate verbally. I mean, that's the other problem, right? If you're gonna call you got to be able to have a conversation. And most people nowadays default to a text because it's easy and it's lazy. And oh, by the way, if I'm going to slam you, I'm going to slam you where you can't fight back, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like 80% of the communication comes via text. So it's actually a really interesting point.
Yeah. So your target is what? Gen Z, Gen X, everybody?
We're like a millennial, like probably early 30s to late 40s, either pre-kids or just, younger kids, kind of fast families type components. So that's our sweet spot, but we cover a wide basis outside that.
Okay. So you've opened yourself up to ridicule, or you've opened yourself up to praise. I think that it's interesting, but I think being vulnerable is perceived as courage, and it's very attractive. And so, regardless of what the comeback is, people know, and now they know even more because the word's been spreading. Obviously, this guy will take the call.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's that vulnerability I think is key. I think far too often you get feedback and you immediately get defensive. I do it with my teams all the time. It's like, well, no, the X, Y, and Z, and as opposed to just saying like, give me more. I mean, I'm seeking it out. I mean, there's no better way to say I really want to hear this than to actually go seek it out and not just send you a form stack on a text message, right?
And when they say something, I mean, the most powerful question, follow-up question, can oftentimes be, just tell me more. Tell me more about that.
That's always it. I'm always asking which location, what times you go in. Like it's again, and they're excited to tell me. That's the best part. Right? To your point, most people post negative on social because whatever it is, and it can be anonymous. And they'll respond to a survey, positive. It's great. I love it. But now it's like I can just keep going, just keep drilling, keep asking, and they want that. Like these are guests that clearly don't just want to be heard to be heard. They want to be heard because they actually want to make it better.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, that's a gift that it's very hard to find.
Well, in B2B sales, when you hear the feedback, I think it's important that everybody recognize that I don't have to win 100-0. I just have to win 51-49, right? And it's still a win. And so if you're getting constructive feedback, if it's constructive feedback, it's because they care. If it's destructive feedback, then they don't really care. I mean, and to some extent, do you really put that much emphasis on what they said because they don't want a dialogue? They don't want a conversation. They just want to be able to rant. And frankly, they're surprised that you picked up the phone, right? Or responded back to the text, which was amazing. So you've got that mentality. You've got 35 locations. How many employees do you have?
About 2,600.
How does that scale?
That's the $1 million question. I think the big piece of scaling for us is like the culture we're built on is like, we really are a guest first business. And regardless, you can build systems and processes and all the things to make sure that you can recreate the restaurant, recreate the vibe. But all those things are table stakes. Anybody can make a great taco and a margarita and build a restaurant that looks like ours. The scalability piece is really making sure that every employee understands like we are guest first. And one of the unintended benefits of this, I put this on there to get feedback from myself. One of the benefits is my team's like, man, I really have to step up because I don't want them to call you if it's not right. And I didn't really think through that. That wasn't the reason.
Yeah.
But I think it sends a passive message to my team of like, this is how guest first I want you to be, that I'm taking phone calls 7 days a week. I think that's how you scale, is that it's more about the feeling and the engagement that the guest gets. And the food and drink and vibe are almost secondary. Not they're unimportant, but it's the Cheers philosophy, right? You want to go where someone knows your name and you feel a connection. We've all gone to a crappy bar with warm beer and cold food, but the bartender knows who you are and you're like, I got to go back there. And I think that's the scalability piece, is that if you just make sure that everybody understands that the one principle you stand on has to exist amongst all else, we've been able to scale at comfortable rate for us and continue to be able to see a future of scaling by keeping that principle really, really at our core.
So, it's interesting. Nobody bats 1,000, right? So there are going to be people that have a bad experience and so forth. And I had an experience one time, long story, different conversation, but basically it was my son's straight A's dinner, which he got all through elementary and middle school and high school. And We were taking him to a brand new steakhouse, and the experience didn't start off very good. And it was like supposed to be a really, really nice, is a really, really nice steakhouse. And so I happened to see somebody. I saw an Anthony walking around up on the balcony, and I just walked up to him and I said, "Excuse me, are you a manager here?" He said, "Sir, what can I do for you?" I said, "Well, we've got a new waiter. I think he just needs to be coached up a little bit. He's kind of this and that." Well, he came in and he took over. Okay. And he left the guy standing. He didn't do anything, but he took over. And what was interesting was that the evening, which we thought was going to be really bad, turned out to be absolutely spectacular. They went over and above, right? And so I wrote a letter to the general manager and I said, the only thing better than great service is great service recovery, because the recovery, if it's done well, has an element of redemption to it, right?
For sure.
How are your people empowered to be able to perform great service recovery when something doesn't quite go right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's no limits. I think you're 100% right, Skip. I mean, I always say to my team, some of our best regulars were created because we made a mistake, because they get that immediate attention, and we can show them how much we care. If you go and have a great experience, it's awesome, but you might not get a chance to show truly how much you care. It just was a great experience. That's phenomenal. But how you recover really shows how important it is to you. So for my team, we tell them all the time, like, there are no limits. I had a manager, I tell this story often. We screwed up at the front door. Took forever, way over the quote. People were really pissed off. They ended up leaving the restaurant, going somewhere else. That manager left our restaurant, went to that other restaurant and paid for their home meal and gave them a gift card to come back. And the meal was probably like at least 3-4 times as much as it would have been at our restaurant.
Okay.
But it wasn't the point. The point was, we will do whatever it takes. Let them know that we made a mistake. We own it. We're not going to hide from it, and we care about it. So for us, we tell them, like, there are no limits. Like, whatever it takes. I always say that the team, a guest comes in with a number above their head. It's the score of their day. So if it's a 74 when they walk in, our job is to do whatever it takes to get it at minimum to a 75, hopefully to like 85, 90, right?
Right.
And it doesn't always require necessarily cash. Everybody thinks it's like, I have to give them something or I have to buy them something. It's not. Sometimes it's as simple as, I was in one of the restaurants yesterday and somebody had a newborn and was walking around trying to, keep entertained when they ate. And one of the managers like, "I'll walk them for a moment if you want to sit down and eat." And the look on the mother's face.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
5 minutes of a manager's time, holding this cute little baby. But the mother got to sit down and eat warm food for 5 minutes, which, as a father of 3 and watching my wife, like, probably hasn't done that when they were younger, right? So I think it's just all of those little moments in telling the team, whatever you need to do, if you are thinking about the guest first, you can do no harm.
Well, you can tell them, from me as a focus group of one, the virality of a service redemption story is exponentially more than the virality of even a good experience story. Right.
Absolutely.
I've told that story 100, maybe 500 times. And everybody has the same reaction that you did, a big smile, and they get it because we are a very forgiving people, just in our DNA. And if somebody is really willing to make the effort, I can imagine how many times that person or that guest told that story about how your manager went and paid for their bill and gave them a gift card. Now, the manager at that location probably didn't like it all too much, but but hey, that's okay. Maybe they stole it and are using it for somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they leveled up and gave an amazing experience, you know what? That they won a guest, and so did we, and everybody wins.
Technology is everywhere. In the F&B industry, right, in the food service industry. Several years ago, 30 years ago, maybe, 2 McKinsey consultants, Risama and Tracy, wrote a book called The Discipline of Market Leaders. And what it says is, if you're going to lead in a market, you can pick one of 3 disciplines. You can pick technological innovation, you can pick customer intimacy, or you can pick operational excellence. And that book changed my professional life, because I began to look at every single company through a very, very different lens. And that is, what do I think, but what do they believe? What do they operate against? You can be really good at the other 2, but only to the extent that they support the primary. And so what's interesting to me is I would give a talk on this, and I would say, what do you think Chick-fil-A's core discipline is? What do you think the discipline is that they, and everybody almost says, well, customer intimacy. No, it's not. It's operational excellence. Only through operational excellence could Chick-fil-A hire people whose only goal is to make the person in front of them happy. If they have to worry about the fry machine or this or that or whatever, how to fix this, if they have to worry about operation stuff, then that alone will kill anybody's attitude.
Distracting,
right?
Yeah.
So what is your core discipline?
I don't mean to recap what you said, but it honestly is not much different. I grew up as an operator myself. I mean, that's how I've had the success I've had in my career, and that's how our team has success. Is we consistently talk week to week about what level of friction our team and guests have, and how do we remove it? Because the job, again, I want the managers, exactly that same point of a Chick-fil-A for that matter, of saying your only job right now is to create an experience for your guest. That's it. You shouldn't have to, and if those things that you worry about, sure, they're always going to come up, but how do we make it so frictionless that it reduces the amount of time that you're away from the dining room, engaging with the guests? And it's the same thing for a guest. We go through every piece of the guest journey, whether that's ordering delivery or picking up takeout or going to the bar or whatever it is. And how do we make that experience frictionless? So for me, it's creating the most frictionless experience for both my employees and my guests, so that the only thing that's left is engagement.
Yeah, you don't want to give your employees a reason not to smile.
Absolutely. Very well said. My CFO jokes, I love this. He's still trying to figure out a way with camera technology to how you can measure smiles per hour. He's like, that's how you know restaurants win. If you walk in, the staff is smiling and the guests are smiling. He's like, you're never going to find a restaurant where both are smiling and they're not successful.
Well, look, unless you put a GoPro on everybody's head, which is going to make things weird, then I don't know that you're going to be able to accomplish that.
But the theory works.
Yeah, in theory it works. Yeah. So, big thing for you is wage equity. Tell me what that means to you.
In the restaurant business, the hardest working people, which are typically the ones working the dish area, are the least paid ones. And we've really tried to make a fight to try to balance that load across the board. And a lot of restaurants have tried something similar, and we're still scraping our knees trying to understand it. But there's something to be said about trying to make sure that everybody has basically the same fight for the same dollar, and there's not a massive disparity, which there has been in the industry for a very long time. So we're consistently trying to find ways, both on salary and on hourly, of how do you level the playing field and how do you meet the employee where they are. I mean, we're looking at a salaried component where you almost treat it like an open enrollment, where each year you go in, you can choose a different compensation model. One would be more of a financial model. I just want to make more cash and work harder, and I'm fine with that because maybe I'm an empty nester. I'm not ready to retire yet, and I just want to put some extra cash in my savings. Or maybe I just had a child, my first one, and I'd like some more time at home, and I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of my compensation structure for additional time to be at home, additional time off, or things of that nature. So for us, it's not just the wage component, it's the total compensation component of how are you really making sure that you're looking at the employees holistically and what they want, and how do you balance that load and make sure they feel like they're being listened to, just like we do with our guests.
Do you find that everybody's your friend till the rent comes due, right?
Absolutely.
So do you find that employees, while they want more balance and so on and so forth, do they ultimately default to, I just want more money?
They don't, which is, I mean, to me, it's becoming less and less of a factor. There are certain markets where we do see it, and they're expensive markets. You look at, bigger cities like Boston's or Colorado's or DC's of the world that are just, they're just generally more expensive. We see it there, but we always try to make sure that our compensation in terms of salary is somewhere between the 75th to 95th percentile. So that kind of comes off the table. Like we want our team to be comfortable and be able to, live their life and not have to work 2 and 3 jobs if they don't want to. So it's all the things that are additive on top of there that I think really change the competitive landscape. I mean, anybody can pay a big salary if they want.
Sure.
But what goes on top of the salary, how much you're working for that salary, makes a really big difference.
You have a high the turnover rate in the fast casual food service business is typically really high. You guys high, medium, low?
So depending on where you're at in your organization, like our general manager turnover is very, very low. I mean, we maintain GMs really well. We have an amazing group of operators. Assistant managers and sous chefs tend to, it's a little bit, we're above industry average, where we expect a lot. We have high expectations. But what's interesting is if we take the approach, you watch these companies that are trying to revolutionize that job, and like, You saw, Danny Meyer try to go 4 days a week, or everybody has some new philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality, when you look at the average tenure of an assistant manager at most restaurants in the industry, it's like 15 to 18 months. It's short. And then they either move on somewhere or they go somewhere else. So we're looking at it differently and saying, instead of trying to push them to be 24 months, because it might not be in the cards, we just basically try to push, this is going to be the best chapter of your life. Come hang with us for 15 months. And we're going to make it an awesome 15 months. You're going to have fun. You're going to learn some new tools that you can use both in our industry and outside. And our goal is just to make you a better leader and a better person when you leave. And if you choose to stay more than that, we'd love to have you. But I think everyone tried to extend this natural thing that's happening in the industry. It's like, just make it great, and it might extend itself organically.
Well, I think that's the issue. In the SaaS industry, SaaS sales, the average sales rep is probably about 15 to 18 months.
So similar,
and they get some time to be able to onboard and to ramp up and so on and so forth. And then, of course, usually the quota is ridiculous. OTE is a lie. I call it the original lie, and that was the lie that the founders had to tell the original investors in order to be able to get them to put the money up, right? Yeah. And then it winds up trickling down, and all of a sudden quotas are unrealistic, and everything like that. But I think those that are getting it are those that recognize that lifetime employment is not a thing anymore. And if we can keep a sales rep for 2.5 to 3 years, and they are aggressive, and they can make it, and we have a strong product market fit and all the tools that they need in order to be successful, and we can, then your model has to be, we're always going to be bringing on new salespeople. So the onboarding and the sales ramping and everything else, that's got to be absolutely down like clockwork, like a machine, because the marketplace is not going to allow you to just make it up as you go. And if you happen to have people that stay longer because they want to, I'm a firm believer that the employee that you hired today is going to be a different person a year from today. And so if you don't provide an outlet for the new person that they are, they'll go find it someplace else. Yeah. And if they don't, if they're not growing and they're not a new person, you're going to want to let them go after 24 months or 36 months anyway. Okay. Correct. Because they're not going to be what you're looking for.
Correct. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's the big component, is even the training component. We said, let's extend our training and we'll give a better training in the front. I said, well, why? You're investing more dollars for the same ROI. Mm-hmm. Like, bring them in, train them on the core fundamentals of what it means to work for our company. That's the most important piece. Mm-hmm. Let them get some on-the-job training, and if they show a desire to want to learn more and do more, we have all these tools and developmental programs we can put them in, but we're trying to force feed too much. It's like, those people that want to grow and want the resources, they'll reach out and use them.
Yes, they'll self-identify. You're exactly right.
Of course, and those are the ones that are probably going to hang out longer, and I don't mind investing in them. Right. But the other ones, like, just let them come in, have a great time, know our brand, make us a little bit better, and that flywheel is just going to keep going. Like, at your point, you're going to keep hiring at that piece, and that's just something to accept.
There you go. And again, it's about being operationally excellent. Right. And so we're gonna make it so easy for people to come in here and be successful that we get to hire almost exclusively for attitude. Aptitude's a given to some extent, but we're gonna make it so easy for them to succeed that we just want great people. Let's talk about for a moment the role of selling in your stores, right?
Yes.
So do you just hire people that are natural salespeople?
So we take a very contrarian approach. If someone tries to sell one of my guests something, I terminate them. I don't believe in upselling. I don't believe in salesmanship. Like, I think
no way.
Listen, you go to these restaurants. Like, I grew up in a lot of the fine dining and steakhouse world, right? And it was, you shared a story about steakhouse at the beginning. It's like, yeah. Oh, do you want to put a topping on your steak? And how many more sides? Like, I mean, it's just plus.
That's so true.
Right?
That's so
right?
true.
You drive the check. And because most people at those restaurants go average 1.5 times a year, walking in, like, here's a special celebration. You knew walking in, you didn't care about the check. It was like, I'm here to celebrate. Whether it was 100 or 1,000 is irrelevant. It was meant to be a special night out. And one, our brand is built off value. It's all from scratch, but we give it an amazing price. But I think when you start selling things and pushing upsells or whatever, sauces or all this other stuff, you're taking advantage of the guest. The way that we look at it is, if you take care of the guest, they're going to find their way through the menu, and we're going to get the sales by repeat visits, not by gouging them on their first visit or upselling them on their second visit.
So is the distinction for you, there's a distinction between suggestion and selling?
There is. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to know advice, right? Like, what's your favorite item? We'll happily give that, but we don't come in like our opening spiel is not a. Everybody needs to get this, and then you should like. We don't try to guide it. We tell them who we are, and how the experience is. Like, we're a shared concept. It's more of a tapas style. Food comes as you go. Everything is fresh squeezed to order. Like, we just let them know what they're going to experience. Then, of course, if they ask, what's your favorite taco? We tell our staff, genuinely respond. Don't tell them the most expensive taco. Don't tell them the most popular one. Unless they ask. So like, tell them if your favorite is a Chorizo taco, then that's the favorite taco. That's because then your suggestion is obviously genuine. It's not some, oh, this is my favorite because it's made this way and it has this and it's canned. And you see it.
Right.
You know, I used to joke when I used to have a concept, and the guests used to come in and say, I can spiel you at this point. Stop telling me about the, fill in the blank. Because it was the same thing. Right. And I think that's a part of, we always push genuine hospitality. I think it's the same thing in salesmanship. Like, people that are genuinely, we'll use the term selling loosely, that are genuinely pushing a product because they believe in it, I guarantee sell more than those that are selling it because they're reading off a fact sheet. Right. And we try to go on that same thing. So we are like anti-sales and upselling and, pushing tables and stuff like that. It's like, you're here to enjoy yourself. As long as you want to be here and spend $5 or $500, I don't care.
So to anybody that's watching or listening to this podcast, if you go into a Bartaco location and somebody tried to upsell you, you absolutely need to
and my number's on the receipt. You let me know, because that will be very.
But keep in mind that you're going to put somebody out of a job at that point, so be careful with that, right?
Yeah.
So in the training, you hire, and is there any specific formula you use when you hire? Is it just that tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's funny, we just changed a lot of this as of late. I mean, there's always a typical, let's go through the experience and put them into behavioral questions and all the normal routine. And what I really boiled down to my recruiting team, I said, you need to ask yourself two things. First question is, would you have a beer with this person? We're in the hospitality business. Like, it doesn't mean you have to be friends with them. No, but if Skip said you want to go out for a beer and I had a minute and I'd say yes, okay, that's question one's good. That means that there's some sort of a natural exchange. And number two is like, would you trust him with your spouse, your kids, your dog, your parent? Like, is there some level of genuine trust there? Like, those are the two things we start with. And then we have a set of 4 principles that we kind of run through of, do they have these characteristics? Because they're things that make us great. Like, we think that level of grit that you have, level of like self accountability that you have, like those things, that's really the filter. Because training is meant to train the technical side of it. I can train a monkey to wait in a table. That's not the hard part, right? The hard part is connecting with someone, recognizing a body behavior or something of that nature. It's like, wait, something's not right. They didn't touch the food in that plate. That stuff is harder to teach.
Well, that's DNA. That's upbringing. That's it's like work ethic. I can't make you want it. I can't make you want to do it. I'm either hiring for it, but it's the ability to be able to identify that and to recognize that. So again, nobody bats 1,000.
Right.
You miss. When do you know when do you know you've missed? And what do you do?
There's never a clear line of when you miss, but the one thing I always tell them is the second you see something off, especially early on, because every employee comes in and they start, at 110% and they settle somewhere around like 85. So if their 110% gives you anything that's wrong, like, pull the plug immediately. Don't wait. Don't give an excuse for them, because it's only going to get worse. So, I mean, and those moments typically come out pretty early. I mean, we were just running through all of our manager and training program. We run through all these numbers, and we had like a 74% pass rate. And most of that 26 that failed inside of like the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, that's a bad thing. I go, that's a phenomenal thing.
Yeah.
I actually wish the number was higher, because we're identifying something so quickly. Right now there's the cause and effect is when you figure out how to interview and get that number better, right? So you're fighting with each other. If you get better interviews and better assessments, then argue that number goes up, but our expectations should keep rising, right? So the number should stay there, but I was actually happy to see 26% fail. Whereas I think the training manager thought I had like 7 heads. What are you talking about? I mean, we're quarter are failing, I'm like, that means we're holding our standards.
Yes.
And we're assessing them the right way. And that's how you build a stronger culture in the long run in terms of operational excellence.
I stole a line from a movie that I saw many years ago, and that is, when in doubt, there is no doubt.
I like that.
So if you got a manager that's like, and even in sales, right? When people talk about the qualification step, and no, qualification is not a step; it is the sales process, because you've always got to be qualifying. And the moment that you see something change, behaviorally has changed, is the moment that you have to go back and reevaluate everything else, right? It's the old broken window thing. The moment that there's an initial broken window, that's when you got to jump down on it, because if you wait, it's just going to continue to get worse. So when you have to let somebody go, how does that go?
It's quick and easy. Like, there doesn't need to be a mass explanation. It's just, this isn't going to work. Have you ever heard the CEO of Netflix has an amazing story he shares, and everybody that he hires at the beginning of orientation, he tells them the exact same thing, no matter what position they are. You've probably heard this before. Like,
no, go.
It's a great
story.
If there's ever a point when you told me you were going to leave to go to a competitor and I would not fight to save you, I have to let you go. And when he fires someone, he says, I told you when you got hired, if there was a point, and I'm not ready to save you at this point, I need to let you go. I think that principle is phenomenal. I think it's exceptional. And that's the conversation. It's like, we make this quick. It's not about you as a person. It's just, this isn't working. We're moving in a different direction. We wish you the best of luck. And we always make sure we take care of people on the way out. Like, I think your character shows just as much as you hire someone as you let them go.
Totally agree.
That's just part of what we are, but we don't fake it. And I say to my teams, like, oh, we'll put Skip on a performance plan. I'm like, find me the last guy you put in a performance plan that turned out to be one of your top 5%. Like,
basically,
it doesn't happen.
Yeah, a 60-day performance plan is simply giving them 60 days notice to go find something else.
That's exactly right. At that point, I'd just say, give them severance, let them go figure it out. They don't need to be on our team, and we make it quick and hopefully painless for the most part.
Where do you see your industry going in the next, say, 5 years?
I actually think, and I use this term, I think we're going to retract, meaning back to what we used to be 10 years ago in terms of the experience. I think that with technology, everything running rampant, will continue to be a big part of the industry behind the scenes. The technological you're seeing in robotics, and you're seeing in AI, and you're seeing in personalization, that's going to just be light years ahead of whoever it was, and that's going to be phenomenal. But I think the guest-facing side, the actual experience as you sit down at a bar stool or a booth, I think that people are going to want to get away from the technology. I think fast casual and fast food will be fine. I think people, that's normal. When you think about a full service experience, a casual restaurant, a fine dining restaurant, I think people are going to look more for, like, I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to look at a tablet. I just want to sit across from Skip and share a cold beer and a burger and have a conversation. I think it's become more of that third place. And that's why you look at what guests are saying now about the industry. The places that are winning are more experiential.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there's something about it that brings it up a notch. And that, to me, is the biggest insight of what the next 10 years of industry looks like, is that people just want something that feels like they're getting out of their everyday life for a moment, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, and they're able to sit down and just connect, because everything else is just like, nonstop. It's just pushing. It's just info overload. And I think we're going to be that place where you can just say, I just want to sit down and relax for a minute. And tech will support the ability behind the scenes to personalize that, but the guests will never see that.
The average age of your server is what?
It's got to be probably early, mid-20s at most.
This is a whole generation that, you've read about it, everybody's talked about it and so forth. They do not know how to interact personally, and so forth. How do you ensure that your people are going to be able to be and to deliver on that just be held experience when your talent pool doesn't know what that is?
I think more of it is how you treat them. Like, I think they've come up that way because they've come up in such a world of technology and being able to hide behind screens and Zoom and code, all these things that have all these ways to communicate that don't require them to look a person in the eye.
Right.
Right. So I think it starts from day one when we train and how we treat them. It's like we don't try to hide behind a text message. We sit them down in a booth and we look them in the eye and we talk to them. We give them feedback. They go through training in the day and they sit in the office, knee to knee with a manager and getting feedback. The staff that is there, the way they engage them, the way they welcome them when they come in for training is a huge component where you become a product of your environment. Like it's like a chameleon. And a lot of restaurants just say, "Oh, we just got to figure it out," and that's why they're all leaning into these technological pieces of like, if I can just get it easier for the guests, these people don't have to worry about engaging. Whereas the guest actually is going to want more of that. But if you create an environment where it's just natural, you do start to, I don't want to say conform because that sounds like you're not that the negative connotation of that word, but
no,
they conform the aspect of like, this is what the environment is. And I enjoy it. I think when people start to realize that, it's huge. And I also think that the life skill of being able to engage is never going to go away, right?
No.
You still got to interview for a job. Like, there's still a component that the human can't redo. Like you talked about the NASCAR thing earlier. You can't take the person out of a NASCAR, of a driver. That the human element needs to exist. In teaching them some of those things, it's actually, I find it more fascinating. People think Gen Z doesn't have the ethic, doesn't want to learn that. They do. They just have their own style of doing it. And they want it to feel like it's not a carbon copy and that we're allowing them to be themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's the key is that I'll give you like even our opening spiel, like I referenced earlier. We don't write a script like most people do. We just say, here's 3 things you should mention in your own words. And I think when you give them the autonomy to be themselves and you're hiring them because of who they are, not because of who you're trying to make them be, I actually think that generation can engage perfectly fine. They just don't like the confines of being handcuffed to something that you have to do. And it's worked well for us thus far.
I think you're dead on. I think that part of what we talked about, how do you know when you've missed? I think it's the same thing can be applied to how do you know when you've made it, when you made a good choice, because I believe it all has to do with how they interact with each other.
Totally.
And they will self-identify. And if they're part of the team and they're cutting up and they're basically taking the mentality of if I see an empty glass, I'm going to fill it. I don't care if it's on my table or not. If they take that same kind of thing, they self-identify. And then it's great. Your behavior tells you everything. After the initial conversation, behavior is everything, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree.
What would your guidance be to a sales leader? Got a team selling tech, whatever, tech B2B. That team is maybe there's 15 of them. They're all over the country. And they maybe get together 2-3 times a year tops. What would be your guidance to them to say, you want a cohesive team, you have to fill in the blank?
I think the key is that people make it, especially when you don't have connectivity in person as much, you try to make so much of it about the job and the enhancement and the operational excellence, to use the term you used, and you push that aspect when, especially in sales, it's about the personal relationship. Right? If I only had 3 times to see my team, I'd spend at least 50% of that time doing something that allowed me to get close to them as a person, not try to make them a better salesman or manager or whatever it may be. And I think then when they realize your buy-in to them as an individual, the processes and the updated systems is the easy part because they're like, I know he cares and he wouldn't do something that wouldn't benefit me or wouldn't benefit the company. Therefore, I'm going to do what's asked versus I question your intentionality because all we do is talk about work and there's no, and like, I literally let go of 2 senior leaders in my company last year for that reason alone. My head of operations, my head of marketing, there was just not a connectivity piece.
Wow.
It's tough.
Well, and everybody else sees that, right? And they go, okay, there is, it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to make the hard call and say, look, if you're not willing to connect, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if you want them to learn and really understand the product or whatever it is, make sure that they know that you care about them first. In B2B sales, the first sale that has to get made is the internal sale. Because if they haven't bought into it, then they're not going to be able to sell it and hold on to it.
You're absolutely right.
This has been eye-opening and enlightening for me, Anthony. I thank you. I appreciate your time and
My
your
pleasure.
candor.
My pleasure. Anytime.
This has been a lot of fun, and we'll see what the audience reacts to. We'll see if I'm not going to ask you to put your phone number out. I'm not going to put your phone number up on the screen or anything like that. But for those,
you got to go to my restaurant. You can get it.
Really quickly, just to tell people the markets that you're in are.
So we're in the Boston area. We're in Connecticut, Southern Connecticut. We're in King of Prussia in Philadelphia. Big presence in DC and Virginia.
Okay.
North Carolina, down in Charleston, Atlanta, Tennessee, Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Colorado, Wisconsin, and Nashville.
When are you coming to Austin?
You know what's funny? I was just there last week.
No way.
I mean, didn't even make the Connecticut. I just toured Austin last week.
Okay, so you'll be back.
I'll be back.
I hope that when you come back, you'll allow me the opportunity to host you.
I would love that. My next trip, consider it done.
I would. That's great. I'll look forward to that. Anthony, thank you. And to everybody, words of wisdom here, because, at the end of the day, this is a people business. Sales is a people business. The restaurant business is a people business. The people businesses are messy, and you've got to be intentional about keep making them less messy, and always lead with the heart and always lead with vulnerability, and you'll be successful. Anthony, thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Kip. You too.